Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of Swim Lessons. I'm your host, Dallas Hanson. They're at the post, and they're off. What an episode we have today. It's with the 22-year-old phenom rider in the horse racing world. That is Ciera Pruitt. I got the chance to grow up with Ciera in the horse racing world as my parents were racing and her dad was a long-term jockey. She's now 22 years old, and she's making a mark in the horse racing world herself. She just had a horse run in the Manitoba Derby, and one day we could see her ride in the Kentucky Derby. It's fun to see someone have a dream like she has and then get a chance to not only chase it, but dominate the dream. And that's exactly what she's doing. But before we get to Ciera Pruitt, we got to talk about our sponsors that made today possible. First and foremost, Glasso Angus. They are a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. They're your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glasso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they're built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out today. That's Glasso, Glasoe, Angus.com. And then PSP Network. It's in the game. Game day's coming up, boys and girls, and it's time to subscribe to that PSP Network YouTube channel. Where can I find their schedule events and all of their games they're going to broadcast across the YouTube land for free, you may ask? Well, let me tell you, it's at psp.network. PSP Network, they've been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. Make sure you check out their schedule events on their website. That's psp.network. And make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel at PSP Network. Really looking forward to doing some football, volleyball, soccer games coming up this fall. I know Nick Holberg and the rest of the talent team is really looking forward to this 2026 campaign and 2025. Next up, Rivers Edge Bar and Grill. They're known for offering the best happy hour in town, right in Williston, North Dakota, the heart of the Bakken, baby. They also provide unbeatable deals in a lively atmosphere, great food at Rivers Edge. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name of the Tune. Come on down to Rivers Edge for great drinks, great food, and great fun. Thank you to those sponsors for making today possible. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to Swim Lessons. We appreciate it no matter where, no matter what, and no matter what time. This is the up-and-coming horse racing jockey that we like to call Ciera Pruitt. CC, as I used to call you when you're younger. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I don't know if it's me getting older, but to see you back in the day running out in the grass out here and now translate it to today where you're riding, you're an actual jockey here. I mean, the process has been fun to watch of you, but it's also like she's growing up and now I'm in my 30s and like it's just weird.
Yeah.
And I'm best friends with your brother Brady. So, I mean, how does it feel to be here at Winnipeg, a track you grew up in riding in competitively?
Honestly, it's a lot more comfortable, that's for sure. I'm definitely more at home here, so going to another track, I think it would have kind of threw me through a bigger loop than it already has. So it was already hard enough to try to get, my feet on the ground here, and I finally feel like I kind of have now with the help from Jason, my mom, and all the other trainers and stuff like that. So they've really stuck their neck out and given me a helping hand and everything like that. But it's honestly just a lot more comfortable and a lot more relaxing, so to speak, I guess.
Nothing like home.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing like home. When I was setting this up, there was something that a lot of people were wondering about that aren't in the horse racing industry, but how to become a jockey. And I wanted to become a jockey when I was a kid, but obviously I was too big. And the funny part about your story is your dad. Your dad was a rider, one of the best all-time riders here at Assiniboia Downs. Did that help you decide, like, okay, this is how I want to live my life? It wants to be around horses, but also to see my dad, who was a jockey. Your mom's a trainer here. So there's a lot of factors there, but what went into the mindset when you were trying to decide what you want to do with your life?
Well, it wasn't always, I obviously wanted to be around the horses a lot when I was a kid and stuff like that, but then I kind of drifted away from it and I didn't really have much interest in it anymore. And then
Really?
When
did that happen?
When I was in high school, I just kind of got young and dumb and just wanted to have fun more or less than really, focus on anything. So I started, partying and just kind of having fun with my friends and just, living life, being a teenager and stuff like that. But then I turned 18 and my mom gave me kind of the ultimatum, like, get your shit together or, get out sort of thing. And so I was like, okay. So then she brought me back to the track. And as soon as I got back in the barn, it was like, yeah, this is where I was supposed to be, like it just, everything clicked again. And I was like, all right. So I started grooming for her. And then that was when I was kind of like, this ain't really it. I was like, I don't really want to be doing this. And then I, started looking back at my dad and I was like, you know what? He had a lot of fun riding. Like I remember watching him ride and how much fun him and the boys had and stuff like that. So I was like, that's what I want to do. So my mom gave me one horse to learn how to gallop on. And I tried that for a while and nothing really worked with that. And I tried to gallop here. Nothing really worked for that. And then once I got the job offer from Kayla Pizzero, she gave me a job offer to go with Josie and stuff like that. And I went there and did that. And
that was in Florida?
Yeah. That was in Toronto at first.
That was in Toronto, okay.
Yeah. And once I did that, it was just, everything started clicking and I was like, this is what I want to do. And it just kind of, I started itching more to try to get more and closer to being a jockey and stuff like that. And then once I got to Florida, I started breezing a lot of horses and everything like that. And it just all kind of clicked with that, so.
Was it scary the first time?
100%. Yeah. So I went to Florida the first time for Craig Smith, and that was a complete nerve-rattling sort of.
So you're from Winnipeg. You lived here your whole life.
Yeah.
And then you uproot and go all the way to Florida.
Yeah.
So you leave behind mom and dad, your sister, brother, everybody.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was a big jump. I never
huge jump,
I never really sat back and looked at it until this year, and I realized how far I came in a couple of years. So, and then going to Toronto by myself, I had Kayla there, so that really helped. But then again, I went back to Florida again by myself, and it kind of restarted the process again. I got really lonely, and that was what kind of influenced my decision more to come home and just start riding now. And I was not necessarily ready enough to start riding, I don't think, but it was just more of the fact that I could do it. Like I could start now. So then I just decided, it might as well give it a shot and see how it goes and try my luck,
I think that's a big thing sometimes in life. Like when you make a big jump like that, not to think about it. Because if you think about it too much, it's like, oh man, I'm going to be so sad. I'm going to be lonesome. But if you just go do it.
That was the thing everybody said. They were like, oh, well, how do you just keep doing it? How do you just keep going? I'm like, I literally don't stop and think about it. Like the next decision comes up and I'm like, okay, I got to do this. Like I know what I have to do and that doesn't matter what I feel at the time, So you got to keep going and you got to keep pursuing. And if you stop and think and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to miss out on this and this, and you're never going to do it.
Do you think when you were down in Florida, that was kind of almost jockey college, if you will?
Pretty much, yeah. Josie definitely knows how to get people on the right program, and she knows what she wants, put it that way. And if you can't do that, then you're not really a use for her, you know what I mean? Because there's so many people that can do it, and there's so many people that can get the job done that she needs. So you really need to step up and you need to do what she wants you to do. And at that point, it was just breezing horses, galloping them, getting them on the right track, getting them ready for the races and Gulfstream and stuff like that. And you really had to be on your A game with her and stuff like that,
So then you came back to Winnipeg, correct?
Yes.
And then you applied to become a jockey. Is that how it went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the steps that you had to jump through, or the hoops to be like, I want to be a jockey? What did they say? Or like, how does that work in the profession?
You got to get your gate card first. So then I had to show them that I could come out of the gate in company with somebody else and not.
What was that like? Oh my God. That would be so crazy.
It wasn't that bad because Josie had me on a bunch of babies and stuff at first, going out of the gate and stuff like that, like teaching babies how to break from the gate. So I was pretty comfortable in there already. And it's just, the babies break differently from older horses, right? So the babies aren't going to leave as hard. They're not going to leave as fast. They're just going to kind of, pop themselves out of there. And older horses, obviously, they've done it before, especially if they ran. They know what they're doing. So really, it's just hanging on and, make sure you can let go quick enough to get them straight if they go this way or that way sort of deal. So, but it was, I've done it all before. So that was why, up until now, I've done every single step that there possibly is to take to try to get to where you need to be a jockey, right? So at that point, I was like, there's really nothing left for me other than to just try. So, but I did the gate card. I did, I pretty much just breezed in front of the stewards and they said, okay, you're good to go. Got my jockey's license, got my first couple of mounts. And then the first 5 races that you ride, you can't carry your stick.
So like a whip.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
How was that? Was it kind of weird?
It was crappy.
Yeah, that had to suck.
Yeah.
Because the whip isn't just like a thing to hit the horse, but like if the horse isn't going the gates, give him a little tap, or
Right,
if he's acting
right.
up in the post parade, give him a little
It just
tap.
kind of felt like I was useless,
Yeah.
like it just
Like you're naked
didn't-
out there, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. I could try as hard as I could, but most of these horses are programmed to be at least hit a once or twice sort of
Mm-hmm.
deal. They have to get a little bit more of encouragement, and it's not necessarily you needed to beat on them, but you just needed to, encourage them to get a little bit more out of them if you need it.
So your dad, he was a big time rider. Was he along for every step of this ride?
100%.
Or step of the.
Yeah.
So what was he saying to you when you were in the gates the first time? Like, hey, calm down in there. Just let him go stray. I could just hear him. God damn, come on now. It's big chew coming out.
If he could have been there, he was there for my gate card, but he tried to get a video of it, and I think
I saw that on social media. That was awesome.
We think his social media aspect isn't very great,
Right.
but if he definitely could have been in my ear that first race, he most definitely would have. But I think he was just more or less so proud of me for really taking the initiative and getting it done, and he's still so proud of me to this day. So even when I'm kicking myself and this and that, he's like, you can't start thinking like that. Like
Yeah.
you got to get it out of your head and just move on to the next race,
Which is like we talked about before. Don't think about it.
Right. Right.
So after the first 5, no whip. How long was it till you got that first win?
I would say it was probably like my first maybe 15, 20 rides.
That's awesome.
So-
Because that usually that's pretty quick actually.
Yeah. It took a little while and I was getting pretty discouraged, but then that first win came along and that was, a changing point for sure. So
Take me into the paddock when you were getting ready for that first ride. When you won.
when I won,
Yeah. Was it for Jason?
yeah, it
Okay.
was. I was pretty nervous. I didn't know necessarily the horse very well. I knew she was pretty live. I knew she had a good shot in it, but I didn't think anything really. I was still kind of down about not winning anything yet. And then he was like, just ride your race and, try to get a clean trip and do what you can. So
That's what he
then-
told you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, wow.
He's a really great guy. He's
So he had
yeah.
confidence in you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since the day I started, he hardly ever gives me any instruction. He's just like, just get a clean trip. If he wants me to sit back a little bit, he'll tell me that or something like that. But
So a clean trip for everybody listening is like so you don't get in behind a horse or like
And any
boxed
trouble,
in, anything
yeah.
like trouble. Okay.
yeah. But then the gates opened and obviously that one loose horse, I looked over and I was
There's
like,
a loose horse. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah.
What number were you at in this race that you won?
I was the 9 and I think the 6 got loose.
Wow. So you were
yeah.
the 9er, so you're way outside.
Yeah. And
Was
then
this a speed horse or not really?
She is definitely.
okay.
Yeah. She likes to come off of it a little bit more, but she definitely likes to hang up front too. So, but yeah, I looked over and I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's a loose horse. I was like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
It was just kind of like every plan that I ever had. I was like, that's out the window. Like, I can't do anything now. But yeah, we just kind of kept it inside and I tried to keep it, from blowing that turn. Once I seen that it wasn't going to make that first gap there on the backside over there, I realized I was like, okay, this is a pretty game horse. Like we're going to, I'm pretty sure it's going to follow us all the way around. So I got up beside it and I kept it in and then she kind of just opened up on the field. So
That is so awesome.
yeah.
What was when you crossed the finish line and you're like, I just won my first race. What was going through your head?
I was so appreciative of her, really.
Yeah.
I was really happy that she dug in like that for me and she got me my first win and stuff like that. I was so happy with Jason that he gave me my first win. I was so proud of myself and I knew my parents were going to be proud like that. Like it was a whole lot of emotions that just kind of ran through me. So,
Well, there's that all-time picture of you after you win the race walking out of the winner's circle with your dad.
yeah.
Like, I hope you get that framed somewhere because
I
that is
will.
like one of the coolest photos I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Because you can just see he's beaming with pride.
Right.
Because he's been your dad obviously the whole life, but now he's like your teacher.
Right.
And now he's like trying to show you the ropes of how to be a great jockey. And then it finally happens. Like you went through all this work, all this turmoil, moving to Florida, moving back. No, should I do this? Should I not do this? All this stuff. And then you do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like both of you are smiling. It's all time.
It is truly.
And that's got to be a great feeling to know that your parents are not only proud of you, but you now have a job that you love and that they love for you to do. And you get to be connected to them too.
Right. You
You never have to leave them unless, obviously if you want to continue to grow and go to Toronto or whatever, but like that doesn't happen always.
Right.
And it's got to be awesome.
That's a huge thing for me is I really wanted to, like if this was a bigger track, and just more to it sort of, so to speak, like it's not a bad track at all, but it's just, there's so much bigger and there's so much more that you can do. Like Toronto's huge. Like I want to end up in Saratoga one day, like,
Whoa.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Like exactly to try to just kind of get as far as I can. And that's at the end of the day, I can always come back here. This will probably always be here. So I can always do this. And that's awesome for me. But if I want to be to the level of where I want to be, I have to be at a different track. You know what I mean?
That's a good mindset. But just as a person that's known you your whole life and trying to look out for you, it's all, the grass isn't always greener.
Right.
But like you said, if you want to continue to grow, you got to take those chances.
Right.
I love Winnipeg. I love Assiniboia Downs, but I'm not here all the time like you are. So I get it.
Right.
I get it 1,000%. Interesting time in the Manitoba Derby. Can we talk about that real quick? Because again, you're a first year rider, you get a mount. Manitoba Derby, for everybody listening, is like the Kentucky Derby of Canada. I'll say there's some other big races in Canada, but for Assiniboia Downs, that's it. That's like the biggest night. The most crowds are here. You guys pop out of the gates and the favorite kind of slides over, and I thought you were going to go down. Like, you did a hell of a job keeping your horse's head up. But when that kind of stuff happens in a race and a horse cuts you off and you realize, holy, I could go down. What's going through your head?
Honestly, just not to come down.
Yeah.
To try.
Do you
to
have to pull the horse up?
100%. Yeah. I had his head pretty good because I was supposed to come off of it already, and I thought I was sitting pretty good in the race already. And then I seen him coming over, and I thought he was going to stop because I was right there. I still had half a length on him, and then he just kept coming. And I was like, okay. I was like, clearly not. And then that's when I felt his head go down, but I had his head pretty good already. So it kind of, he definitely is one athletic horse to keep himself up like that, because I watched at the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was just kind of like, okay, like we, stumbled and like we almost, probably could have got dropped, but it wasn't like it's so quick in a race that you don't have time to really process it. And then when I watched the replay back, I was like, holy crap, like we almost got dropped. Like that was way too close for comfort. And then we got back to the room and everybody was kind of talking about it and this and that. And he was like, well, that's race riding. And I'm like, how are you're going to almost drop half the field and say that that's race riding? Like that's not even close to it. Like that's just complete obliviation to not knowing where everybody is. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think that we were 50-1 in the Derby.
Right.
But at the same time, that horse tries his heart out every single race. He doesn't care. He doesn't know his odds. He doesn't.
Right.
He tries every single step of the way. And where we were sitting, I thought we had a pretty good shot of, finishing the race, at least hitting the board at least. And then once he did that, it just sucked us back to 6th or 7th. And that was pretty much game over for us.
Well, when something like that happens, you lose your horse.
Well, exactly.
Like the rhythm's off, everything's off.
Even though it happened early, it was still, we needed every step of the way. You know what I mean? Like every second counted in that race for us. Other horses like that, they could have recovered and they could have done whatever, but we really needed that clean trip. We needed to sit where we were. We needed to make that turn. We needed to be, the speed in that race was just unmatched compared to us. You know what I mean? So that just kind of took it out completely for us.
Well, then all the other horses, it was almost like a 4-horse pileup because that one horse almost goes over the rail.
Right.
And it was like scary watching, because when you're watching it in real time, you didn't really see much.
Yeah.
But then you watch the head-on angle. It's like, whoa, there was a lot of.
That's what I mean. Once that happened to me, I looked over and I seen all that happen and I was like, holy cow, dude. I was like, you literally dropped almost half the field.
Seriously.
Like
who was on the one horse that almost went over the rail? Do you remember who was riding?
I think that was Praven.
That was Praven?
I'm pretty sure that was Praven.
Man, I mean, talk about a guy that is a great rider, and he just got hurt. He was out training, for everybody listening, 2 days ago. Praven Badgery, thoughts to him and the family. But his horse got spooked, and he falls off and breaks his hip.
Right.
And now his season's over.
Yeah.
Hopefully can make a comeback, God willing. That's the second time I think he's broke that hip. But like as a jockey, you said it earlier, and I can't remember if it was on or off air, but you're like, I got to take every race like it's my last. This is like, it's a one, because you can't factor in getting injured, obviously. Like it's a freak deal. But it's like a game of football, basketball. Play the game like it's your last. Except now it's play the race like it's your last. And this is a 2-minute thing, Ciera. Like this is a quick thing.
It is. Yeah. You definitely have to take every race, like not necessarily thinking it's your last, but you have to take it like it's, you have to be out there and you have to be in the game and you have to, like, you can't remember anything that's happened before. You have to just keep on pushing and keep on doing what you can do. And obviously that race was it could have been a lot worse than it was and everything like that. But at the end of the day, like, you got to keep moving. You got to keep, thinking differently, and you can't bring what happened in the last race to the next one, So
as a female rider, there's kind of a growing more in the jockey colony across the world of female riders starting to come into the light, if you will. And there's been great ones throughout, but the jocks room here in Assiniboia Downs, there's like the male side, obviously, and then the female. Does that like because you're the only one here in Winnipeg that's a female rider, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of in your own little world almost. Does that help, or do you think that's a negative thing that you don't have anybody to talk to?
It's good and bad, I guess. It's definitely nice to just kind of have my own space and this and that. But at the end of the day, like, it would be nice to just have another female rider, because it's just kind of, it gets a little lonely. It gets a little hard, you know? So, like, if I had Kayla back here or something like that would be really helpful. But to have another person to kind of bash heads with, sort of thing, like, I don't think that would be very helpful.
Right,
but
yeah.
if it was somebody that was, you know, on the same page as me and stuff like that, then I would think it was good. But I really just don't. Like, I get it. Men always have the upper hand because of the way that they're built and just the way that they ride. They have the majority of the upper hand. But at the end of the day, rider is a rider, you know? Like, it doesn't really matter to me, and I don't really...
You got the brains.
Right, exactly. Like, you know, we have the soft hands. Like, we always have, like, everybody has an advantage in this field. You know what I mean? So it's not really, like... I don't like the saying, like, oh, like, you have to ride like a girl or you have to ride like a guy. Like, you just have to ride. You just have to... You have to have the heart. You have to have the passion. You have to have the drive. Like, you know what I mean? So it's really not male or female, and the guys still take care of me. Like, they still treat me like I'm one of their own, you know? So they're never hostile with me. They're not out there trying to hurt me. They're just out there trying to get another paycheck like I am. So
do you remember Janine Stianson?
I don't think so.
Oh man, she was a great rider here, and she was either leading rider or right up there. Vicky Bays is another one that comes to mind, but Kayla, I mean, Pizarro, she was great too. But did you have a hero growing up that was a jockey and you're like, okay, I want to be like him?
My dad.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So once I started to kind of get more into, like, looking at the racing world and I started to travel and stuff like that, Emma Jane Wilson was definitely somebody I looked up to, and she was just such a great rider, and she definitely rode like a man. Like, she could get down on one, she could hit one hard, like she could do everything that a man could do, and if not better than most of the men out here. So I definitely started to look at her, and then I watched Sophia a lot too, Sophia Vives. So she was an apprentice rider last year, and she really made big moves. She rode for huge barns. Like, she won the Oaks with that Kins Concerto for Josie Carroll. So, like, I was really, really looking out at her and Emma a lot. So
let's talk about your mom, Lise. One of the most hardworking people I've ever been around. You always see her at the barn, first one in, last one out. I mean, there's been nights when I've been here and it's like 11 o'clock and the lights are still on in her barn. What was it like growing up having a mom that's that hardworking and just absolutely loves horses?
It was honestly the biggest drive that I had. Like, she just, every time I seen her doing something like that, I watched her and watched her and watched her, and there was never any quit in her. It didn't matter, you know, if something had happened or something was going on, and it didn't matter what happened in her life. The horses always came first. She always made sure that she was there. She always made sure that she could be, you know, taking care of them. They were always her first priority. So watching that kind of work ethic and that drive in her really established that in me, and I knew that giving up just never was really an option, you know?
Man, that's awesome. That's what it takes. I mean, when I was growing up, I would get pissed because I wanted to go do stuff as a kid, or like even now, which I was like, we got to take care of the barn first. We got to clean the stalls. I'm like, come on.
Same.
You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, let's go. I want to go to a movie. No, we got to take care of the horses.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what it takes. I mean, growing up, and I talked about this at the beginning, but like guys like Steve Keplin, now he's leading trainer here. You know, he was one of my good buddies growing up. Now I look at you, you're a great jockey here. And it's like, it takes so much hard work that people don't see behind the scenes. You know, people come to the races and they're like, oh, okay, she's going to ride this horse. But tell us a little bit about like your morning routine when you wake up. What time's your first alarm go off?
5:30.
5:30 in the morning. Okay. So you get up at 5:30 a.m. You come to the track, and then you got to work these horses out. Yep. You know, on non-race days, race days probably, because as a jockey, you're trying to earn that spot with the trainer that says, hey, I'm into your barn, I want to ride for you. And you're always kind of like selling yourself, if you will, to these trainers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a game where if you can't do it, somebody else can. So, and someone's always looking for your spot. So no matter what, you always have your head on a swivel trying to protect your spot, sort of thing. And it's not necessarily you'll get replaced, but it is almost like you will if you can't do the job that you need to do. You know what I mean? Like, you always have to be one step ahead. You always have to be on your A game. You always have to be showing up and trying to, like, there's so much that you have to give up to try to be a rider, especially. Like, obviously trainers, grooms and stuff like that, they have to, you know, sacrifice a lot too, I'm sure, but it's a rider. they're so expendable, and there's so many, and they're so easy to replace that you really have to be here every day. You have to be trying every day. You have to, if you want to go to a party or you want to go to a birthday or you want to go to something like this, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You might lose that horse, you might lose this, you might, you're not always gonna get to where you need to be if you want to if you want to give up to go do something a little bit more fun and for yourself, so to speak.
That's gotta be hard as a young person. How old are you?
22.
22.
Yeah.
Wow. You've made a long ways in your career, very young career. When so where we're doing this at is the paddock. And I thought this would be a unique area because this is almost when the trainer brings the horse in, they're getting it saddled. You get to talk to the trainer a little bit. What's some instructions that you've gotten from a trainer that you found like interesting?
Usually they know what they're talking about more or less. I usually try to follow pretty close to what they want, but actually the other night, I walked into the paddock. I think I was 50-1 in a race, and it was one of the last races, and I walked up to the trainer and she said, "Do you think you can pull off a miracle?"
That's always good news.
I looked at her and I just smiled and I was like, we can sure try. And she was just like, "This horse hasn't been running very well. I don't know what you're going to do. Try to sit up close if you can." And I looked at the form, and the only time that it won, I'm not sure if it was this year or not, but the only time that it won anytime recent was when it was sitting up close. So I was like, okay. And she was like, "She's supposed to go 6.5. This is 5.5. So we're, cutting her short already. So if you can, just try to give her a good warm up and try to get that, next furlong in it." And I was like, okay, sounds good. So we got out there and I warmed her up really good, and I tried to get her, as live as I could before the race, and we ended up running third. And
nice.
So yeah, she was like, "You pulled off the miracle." So I was like, yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. But
not only do you ride here in Assiniboia, but I saw you went to Fargo, North Dakota Horse Park. How was it down there?
It was like bumper cars.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Those quarter horses are definitely an experience.
Oh, you were riding quarter horses down there.
Yeah, I rode a few thoroughbreds, but yeah, it was majority quarter horses. So I rode a few, and they were pretty easy and pretty nice, and they kept straightforward and stuff like that. But one of them had a flipping halter on, and I was like, oh
no.
my God. I was like, dude, I was like, what is this? I was like, I looked down and I was like, what is that on its face? And they were like, what? And I was like, I don't know, it looks like a halter. I was like, is that supposed to be on there right now? And they're like, oh yeah, it's a flipping halter. You'll be fine. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I was like, ain't no way I'm doing this right now. But it was really good in the gate. We got it in there and it didn't do nothing. It didn't even really pull back on it or anything like that. But yeah, all the horses that I were on were really safe and content, but I got banged up a few times, like just kind of bumped and hit out of the gate. And, I was doing some bumping and hitting. And, it's just those quarter horses it's definitely an experience to have. So,
well, they've done a pretty good job at the North Dakota Horse Park. I feel like it seems like they've always got like large crowds there, and they're kind of just, I know there's talks, but like a grandstand, they've kind of got that one that can be removed or whatever. But it seems like a nice place.
It was, yeah. The guys were really good there. They really know, like the gate guys are everything in there. They're really good hands and stuff like that. So, and the pony guys were really nice, and the crowd, every time I talked to somebody in there, they were really nice. So it was a really fun place to be. It definitely, like here, it's more like business, and you have to be on your game, and you have to do this and you have to do that, and you have to really be, just on top of everything. But there, it was just kind of like I could kind of sit back and take a breath, and I didn't really, care how it went, to speak. Like, obviously, I wanted to get that win, and I wanted to get, a paycheck for the trainers and myself. But at the same time, it was just like, I'm just here to have fun, guys. Like, so it was nice to get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, and it's a mile-long track because my parents race a lot at Chippewa, and it's a bull ring.
Yeah.
And Brady, your brother, came down, and shout out Brady Pruitt, who's getting married tomorrow. That's why I'm here. But when he came down to watch and kind of help us out, I was like, dude, you think Ciera would come down here? He's like, I don't know, she might get killed. Like, because it's pretty, it's tight. A bull ring's so different.
Oh yeah,
it's so different.
Those turns are that's all gnarly. You got to pay attention to, right? And usually the first 3 horses into that turn are the ones that win it, more or less. So I watched it in Fargo, and I was watching it a lot, Fawner.
Fawner, okay.
Fawner, yeah. I was watching it in Fawner, and I watched the first race, and I was like, those guys are going way too fast to make that turn. I was like, there ain't no way. And then all of a sudden, they all kind of just grabbed a hold and made the turn. I was like, what the heck? I was like, there's no way that y'all just did that. Like, it's definitely an experience.
Well, it's different. It's like a different life. Like you said, it's pretty professional. Like, it's professional there. Don't get me wrong. And some of the best horse handlers and horse people you'll find are at those kind of tracks, but a handful of years, my parents got Rocco Bowen to come down, and he was a big time rider up here at Assiniboia. and he was riding Dallas Pal, and we were the favorite in the race, should have won easy. And they're in the gates, and they were going to go around twice. It was a longer race in a bull ring, and they pop the gates, and Dallas Pal leaves the gates, but no jockey. And Rocco gets dumped right at the beginning. And so after the race, we like grabbed Dallas Pal, and my dad's like, "What happened, Rocco? Like, we should have won. Like, what happened?" He's like, "I told him I wasn't ready. I'm not ready." My dad's like, "Here, you got to always be ready. You always, they ain't going to listen to you. Once they're all ready, they're going to pop them."
Yeah.
So, I mean,
if you're that horseback, you better be tied on.
If you're a
already.
horseback, like it's rodeo time here.
Yeah.
Like, let's get rolling.
Yeah.
Tell us about, I'm always really interested in the race experience. So when you're heading to the gates, say you're like the 3 horse, okay, the 1 horse, 2 horse go in, then you go in. When you're sitting on that horse, like we were just talking about, you're waiting kind of for them to yell horseback, because then you know, okay, it's almost showtime. But what is the experience like in the starting gate?
Usually if you have a good one, it's pretty like just chill. Like you're just kind of waiting, you're listening, making sure like they'll say 2 out or whatever, or something like that. And then I usually have, my left hand always goes first. So I usually grab a hold already. I already have my left hand set.
On the reins?
On the mane.
On the mane?
Yeah.
So you're holding on to the mane?
Usually, yeah.
Wow.
So when I go in, I usually grab like my first mane hold just so I have it, because I've had it happen where the gates popped open before the race even started. So my horse got out and I had to, make sure I was there. But I hold on first, and then once they say like horseback or whatever, that's when I grab my second mane hold, and then they usually pop it pretty soon after that. But it's usually a little bit more nerve-wracking when you hear the gates rattle. So when a horse is kind of acting up or something like that, or doing something dumb that they shouldn't be, then it's kind of a little bit more like, is my horse going to be next, like sort of thing. So
sorry, go ahead.
I've been on a couple flippers and stuff like that. So it was just kind of those times it's a little bit more like, okay, let us out. Let us out.
Well, shout out Derek Corbell and the gate crew here at Assiniboia. I think they do a great job. And that's got to be like a tricky job for him, because Derek's holding the button, like waiting. You don't want to be the guy that presses it too early.
Right.
But you don't want to be pressing it too late. So it's like a quick game. But when the gate rattles and like a horse to your right or to your left is acting up, you just stare straight forward like it's tunnel vision?
Pretty much, yeah. You just try to block it out and not pay attention to
Whoa.
it. I keep talking to my horse, and if it's a horse right beside me, obviously I'm making sure that it's not going to come over into the next gate, because sometimes when they rear up, they twist their bodies and they get their feet over or something like that. But if it's a horse I know that's like a couple holes down from me, then I just straightforward, I don't pay attention to it. Like when one of the riders got hurt the other day, what was his name? Arthur Badu. He got flipped on pretty good, and he got knocked out for it. But at that point, it was kind of just like, you can't really, like, it sucks to say, but you can't really pay attention to that. You know, like you obviously know somebody's going to take care of him, somebody's going to help him and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, you have to pay attention to what you're doing and where you're going, because we didn't know if they were going to ship us right then and there, if they were going to, wait to see what happened to him. Or so you just kind of got to pay attention more or less to your life and what you're doing in that sense.
It's literally just a team game at that point between you and the horse.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Even when you're out there, like, you want to take care of everybody and you want to help everybody out and you want to make sure that everyone's good to go and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, if you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself, regardless of if somebody else does have to get hurt in that situation, And it sucks to say, you don't want to see anybody get hurt. You don't want to see anybody, lose their life or something like that. Worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, it's better you than them.
Yeah.
Or them than you, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I mean, it's got to be a wild feeling though, like with the Manitoba Derby, when they pop the gates and you're riding by the crowd for the first time and the crowd's like, yeah. Like, I think about the Kentucky Derby. Like, I get chills just thinking about that, because there's so much suspense, so much goes into it. Like the post parade, you see the crowd, you hear the crowd, everything. But then it's like, boom, they pop the gates, and you got to hear the crowd a little bit, and there's so much momentum, and you're thinking, okay, I got to sit back, or I got to go to the lead. What when you pop out of the gates and you see kind of the field go this way, that way, what kind of goes through your mind with that as a jockey? Do you have to realize, okay, I'm going to sit back a little bit, or what's kind of your mindset once you come out of the gates?
It just depends what you're already, like, you already kind of have a plan of what you're going to kind of do. So it depends. Like, if you want the lead, then you got to get to the lead. If you want to sit back, then you got to try to sit back. Like, I've been on horses where if I know I want to be a little bit back, I'll just let them break on their own. And then once we break, I kind of watch where the field went and see how they went, and I'll try to move to the inside as good as I can. And usually if I'm on the outside or something, there's a horse there already, so I'll just kind of hug his hip and stick with him. And then, but I've been on horses where I've wanted to get the lead, so when I try to do that, I usually give them a little and kind of get them to get a little bit harder out of there, and give them a couple taps on the shoulder and get them to kind of really fire out of there and try to grab the lead as best as I can. So
do you guys talk out there?
Sometimes,
when you're riding? 'Cause
yeah.
an old jockey friend of mine, Remy Selman, was telling me one time we had a good horse in a race, and he kind of got boxed in, and we got back to the where we unsaddle, and I'm like, Remy, what happened? And he's like, I kept yelling, give me room, because he was on the rail. He's like, give me room, I got a fresh horse, give me room. Like, do you guys talk a lot like that on there, out on the track?
Usually the guys are pretty quiet. Like, I've been they get a little bit scared, I would have to say, when I get a little close to them, because I think they're so used to kind of keeping it pretty spacious. But if you watch any other racetrack, everybody's hip to hip.
Bumping is racing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. If you ain't bumping, you ain't trying.
Right.
But I try to keep as close as I can to them. I've been yelled at a couple of guys because we were coming into the turn and he wanted to get out. I wanted to stay in, and he was on the inside and I was on the outside. So we kind of fought over that. And
what was he saying? Get out.
Pretty much, like, he was just like, you have the whole racetrack. Get out of the way. Get out.
What'd you do? Just kept going?
I just kept going.
Yeah, you have to.
I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I was like, you want out, I want in. I was like, if I get out, then you get your way. If I get in, you don't get your way. So, like, like I said, you have to take care of yourself in that situation. And then the other night, one of the guys that just came back off of breaking his shoulder, he was on a horse that tried to get out of the turn. So I was like, okay, like, we were going into the turn together, and I didn't notice the horse or whatever. But he looked over and he was like, watch this horse. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh crap. I was like, this is the horse that wants to get out around the turn. So I kind of made sure that we were like head and head almost going into the turn. And when we went into the turn, he's like, watch this guy. I was like, you're okay, Jimmy. You're okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I got you. If he goes out, we're staying in. Like, it's okay. Like, so I kind of just turned my horse's head into him, and then he started flagging his horse so he'd stay in. And we kind of just helped each other in that sense, or I guess I helped him more or less in that sense, and just trying to, look out for him, because I knew I had enough horse to get by and whatever, and I was still sitting good, and I could do what I could for him at the time,
Well, that's good. Like, teamwork, looking out for each other a little bit.
Right. So sometimes you got to kind of piss off people, and sometimes you can kind of help people. So
have you ever heard of Canterbury Park?
Yeah.
In Minneapolis?
Yeah.
You should try that spot. That's a good spot.
That's where, if I could have got my license figured out, because we figured out that I could compete for prize money without needing a visa or anything like that. So that was why I went to North Dakota and stuff like that. But I could have been in Belcourt, North Dakota. I could have been in I could have went down to Canterbury for a little while. Like, I could have rode anywhere just to compete for prize money, like just to go down for the weekend. But at the same time, it's giving up here as well. So you kind of got to be giving and taking sort of thing. So if I leave here, then somebody else can take my spot, so to speak. But it's kind of hard to go back and forth like that and still get as many rides as you can.
Yeah, like we were talking about, the trainers will find somebody else.
Exactly,
which
right?
sucks.
Especially here, everybody wants you to gallop for rides. So what you gallop is usually what you ride at night. So
tell us, what's the future going to be like for Ciera Pruitt, the great and mighty Ciera Pruitt?
I'm hoping that we can get to the Kentucky Derby one day.
Let's go.
So try to anyhow.
No, you can do it.
Try to. So
I mean, look at it this way: how many people doubted you to even ride here?
Oh, everybody.
There's haters everywhere. Like, even with this podcast that I've been doing, or like sports broadcasting, Dallas will never do it. Well, then, excuse my language, but like, I'm gonna do it. Like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
This is how I'm gonna do it. And no one can stop me.
Yeah.
And if it takes, like, me just setting up this equipment by myself today, messaging you, if it's just you and you, no one can beat you.
Right.
All it takes is a little hard work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do it. You can do it. I mean, there's so many people that love to hate because they're not doing what you're doing.
Right. Well, the amount of people that told me that I wasn't going to be able to do this, and then to be riding, like, you really just have to get that one trainer that's willing to give you that hand, like Jason, like, if he never would have trusted me with that horse at the start, like, I watched that horse from Fawner, and I watched how he was doing, and he ran a really good second there, and I was like, oh yeah, like, this horse he's legit. Like, I was like, this is pretty nice. And then I actually didn't get him when he first got here. I think Neville had the first ride on him, And I was like, no, like that horse can't go gate to wire. Like that horse can't go gate to wire. Like
Well, he's gas pedal Neville.
Exactly.
Like you got to go out to the lead.
Exactly,
if Neville,
right? So I was like, like he can't run like that, Jason. I was like, just give me one chance with him. I promise. I was like, we'll get a good run. We'll get a good run. And then we got pinched out of the gate, but he still ran like a really good third. And I was like, can I please have him back one more time? Just one more time. And then that was when we broke his maiden. And then everybody's like, oh, this is a nice horse now. And I was like, I told you guys. I was like, I literally tried to warn you. I was like, this is a nice horse. But at the end of the day, like I said, like it's just, you got to get that trainer that's willing to give you that hand. And if you can find that, then you can almost do just about anything. Like I never thought that I would have been in the Manitoba Derby. I obviously wanted a horse in there, and I was trying to talk to trainers and be like, just give me a chance, just give me a chance. But he was really the only one that really wanted to, give me that hand and give me that leg up and just say, you know what, I trust you enough to, try to get through this and try to do it. And obviously we didn't get the cleanest trip there was, but, I was still very appreciative that he gave me the chance to try.
Well, listen, I'm a fan and I'm a dreamer. I can tell you're a dreamer and you can do it. You just got to keep your mindset straight and know what's best for you. But are you on social media?
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a quick shout out so people can follow your journey because I think it's very fun.
It's just Ciera Pruitt pretty much for my Instagram and my Facebook. So if you search up Ciera Pruitt, you'll see I have all my races and all my wins and stuff. They're both public accounts, so you guys can, follow if you want.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for the time, Ciera. Greatly appreciate it.
Obviously.
All right. Thanks, everybody.